Functions are the secondary building block in programming and allow you to store related tasks in named groups so they can be reused in the most efficient way possible. In ActionScript, functions are actions comparable to verbs, so they do things. Now I want you to think of riding a bicycle. You think of riding a bicycle as one task, but it's really a group of related tasks. So you have, sitting on the bike, pedaling, balancing, etc. So just like that, a function takes a group of tasks and names them. They usually have active names. Like one of the functions you're familiar with is probably stop. Stop is a built-in function. Remember, it's blue, and that stops the timeline. Notice that it's sort of an action word. Another function is go to and play. It looks pretty similar to stop in that there's a blue phrase and some parentheses and a semicolon, except for in the parentheses you place which frame you want to go to. So go to and play groups related tasks. It takes the playhead, moves it to a particular frame, in this case 3, and plays from there. I can go on, but I think you get the point. Now there's a difference between running a function and creating a function. Running a function is as simple as typing the function name in parentheses. Creating the function is a little bit more complicated. To create a function in Flash, type the word function. Remember, it should be all lowercase, and it should be blue after you type it, showing that it's a keyword reserved for Flash. Type a space, and then type the name of the function. Let's say I wanted to create a function that added numbers. So I'll call this add numbers. Usually, a function name starts with some type of action word. Here, my action word is add. So it describes what the function does. I also like to write in camel case, meaning each new word starts with a capital letter. This is useful because you can't use spaces in function names. After the name of the function, type some parentheses. After the parentheses, you specify what type of data the function will return. We'll look at this in more detail later on, but for now, just type a colon and then type void. And this is going to be one of the very few data types that starts with a lowercase letter. So void with a lowercase v. Go to the next line, type an open curly brace, that's shift square bracket, and then press enter or return. And depending on your ActionScript settings, Flash may or may not write a curly brace for you. So you might have to add that closed curly brace. Inside of the curly braces, I can write my tasks that the function will do. This is usually a set of commands, one on each line. So let's say I wanted to just add a simple trace statement here. So I'll type trace. Remember that puts a message in the output window, some parentheses and a semicolon. And in the parentheses, I'm not going to use quotes. I'm just going to type 1 space plus space 2. So I'm going to trace 1 plus 2. Now, if I were to test the movie, then nothing would happen at this point because remember I said that there's a difference between declaring a function and running a function. So this block of code I have highlighted here is simply declaring a function. It's saying it exists and you can run it whenever you want. In order to run the function, go below the curly braces, or of course you can go above the word function. It doesn't matter. As long as it's in your code, Flash will find where the function is. Then type the name of the function. So it's add numbers, and some parentheses, and a semicolon. So notice that it looks kind of like the stop function. It has the command, and then the parentheses and a semicolon. But it's not blue because this is a custom function that we just created. So test the movie, and then you can see 3 in the output window. To make a function more reusable, you can add something called parameters. Remember when you ran the goTo and play function that you pass in a number that tells Flash what frame to go to and play from. So we'll look at doing that here with our custom function. So let's say when you add numbers, you're going to put the numbers that you want to add inside of the function. So every time you run the add numbers function, you can use different numbers and basically have the function do something unique each time you run it. Let's look at how that works. Put your cursor in the parentheses at the top of your code, right after the open parenthesis after add numbers. Type num1, so all lowercase num, num, and then a 1. This is the first parameter. I'm going to declare its data type. So I'm going to type a colon, and then I'm going to type the word number with a capital N. Once I see it's highlighted in the code hinting window, I'm just going to press return and have Flash complete that for me. Then I'm going to type a comma, and then I'm going to type a space, and then I'm going to type num2 colon number, just like I did for num1. Most of the time, spaces don't matter, so I can either have a space or not have a space here, but I prefer to put spaces because it helps me to read the code a little easier. So we have num1 and num2. Now I'm going to replace these numbers inside of the function with num1 and num2. So instead of adding 1 plus 2, it's going to add num1 plus num2. Now these numbers don't have any values yet, and they won't have any values until we run the function and tell Flash which values those should be. So go down to the bottom of your code when you're running the add numbers function. Right after the open parenthesis, put one number, I'll put 5, put a comma, and notice the code hinting window comes up. It says add numbers, which is the name of our function. It says there's two values. There's num1, that is a number, and then there's num2, that is also a number. So for num2, I'll put in 10. So now I'll test the movie and look in the output window. So now I have 15. So the magic of the function is that I can reuse this as many times as I want. I can highlight the add numbers line of code on line 6, copy it with Command or Control C, and then go down and paste it and repeat that by pasting a few more times. And I could change the numbers that I'm adding to whatever I want. So now I can test the movie again. And for some reason, the output window scrolled down, and I don't see anything, but there actually is something there. So if I close that window and close the Actions panel and scroll up, you'll see the numbers that were added for me. So you've seen that I can reuse this function as many times as I want. Right now, it's only just one line of code, but imagine if you wrote 20 lines of code inside the function, and instead of having to rewrite 20 lines of code 4 times, you simply put it in a function, and you can just call the function or run the function 4 times, passing in different values like we're doing here. As we go throughout the rest of this title, you'll see more uses of functions and get experience learning how effective they can be. What I want you to remember now is that functions are groups of commands that are named and can be reused to organize and optimize your applications.